After you joined, in 2008, when you joined SAPS, which position did you assume, and can you briefly go through your trajectory within the SAPS?
I must state that joining SAPS, I joined as a lateral entry, and I was already at a director level. It was before the ranks were actually altered to the military ranks. So I became a director for counterterrorism. And that structure was responsible for both right-wing extremism as well as Islamic extremism investigations. If I may proceed.
Yes, General.
Yeah, I think pivotal to my appointment as the section head for counterterrorism, it was just before the World Cup, and I think it was the time General Tele came into the SAPS as well. So we worked, I think I was one of the 2 junior members who were part of that committee, where we were providing security updates and appraisals in terms of counterterrorism to the SAPS World Cup Committee.
Thank you, General. And then in 2012, you talked to further positions that you occupied?
Yeah, I think before we go into 2012, in 2010, just after the World Cup, I was appointed as the first head of organized crime for DPCI. I stayed in DPCI for a year, and I was subsequently redeployed to crime intelligence, where I became the component head for counter and security intelligence. An opportunity arose, I think, when there were changes in crime intelligence. I then became the head of labor relations. For the first time in my life, I was in HR, and I became the state chief's negotiator, a position that I enjoyed because it actually broadened my scope of understanding management and issues that touches the conditions of service of members. And just maybe to move on, in 2014, I became the component head for leadership, management, and development within Division HRD, where I was responsible for all SAPS leadership training.
General, can you then speak to your appointment in 2016 that ultimately then resulted in your 2021 appointment as the Divisional Commissioner?
When General Patlani was appointed as acting National Commissioner, he redeployed me to detectives, where I was the first head of organized crime investigations, which was just reintroduced within SAPS. And I occupied that position until I was appointed the Divisional Commissioner, Detective and Forensic Services in 2021.
Just at that point, I'm not going to interrupt you much, okay. But I just want to ask you, you may even take notes if you have something to write with and on. I want you to apply your mind, and right at the end I will raise these issues that I want you to note. I assume that as the Divisional Commissioner for Detective and Forensic Services, that the laboratories, forensic laboratories, fall under your mandate. Is that a correct assumption?
It is correct, Commissioner.
Yes. Now, I want you to tell us, right at the end when I raise this again, if you have identified the causes of the delays with the tests conducted at the laboratory, and if you have, what are the causes of the delays? And secondly, on my understanding, the delays have existed for a very long time. Is that correct? And then again, why was this situation allowed to last for as long as it has? And then, have you applied your mind to solutions to the problems? And if you have, what solutions have you come up with? And how soon can those be implemented? Sorry for interrupting the flow, General and Ms. Bowe. As I say, that's for later, right at the end.
Noted, Commissioner.
Thank you, Chair.
And perhaps I should specifically refer to Abyss in this context.
Yes.
One of the witnesses, I forget his name.
Brigadier Nkabela.
Yes, him. My understanding of his evidence was that the Abyss system is not used optimally. Can you please address that as well? Address it specifically, and also tell us what your ideas on improvements such that this gets used optimally, what your thoughts are in that regard. Thank you. Yes, Ms. Bowe.
Thank you, Chair. General, if we could then move to paragraph 5 of your statement, where you just set out various roles and institutions that you play a part in. Can you just give a brief summary of those?
I'll start by reflecting on things that we have achieved as an organization where I played a role in terms of leadership. And I think one of those touches on the question that the chairperson has asked that I address at the end of my statement or of my delivery. I played a role in the expansion of the Gqeberha Forensic Science Laboratory, which actually was only exclusively dealing with ballistics as well as scientific analysis and chemistry. So we expanded this lab to cover the DNA analysis as part of us trying to address the issues of the rising exhibits of DNA, and also making sure that we have a good turnaround time for us to be able to provide the courts with the evidence as required. This was a presidential project, and I must say that the plan is to expand the particular FSL footprint throughout the country. I also championed a number of projects for the National Commissioner where we were expanding and increasing resources, particularly in the Division Detective and Forensic Services. I'm also a co-chairperson of the SAPS and BAXA Business Participative Partnership, where we are looking at pioneering a digitized police station, and basically we are looking at improving police stations to be able to deliver services as well as reduce the overload of people going in to ask for diverse services. So we are working on that model, and I think I'll touch on it, Chair, when I respond to what are we doing as interventions to address the delays in terms of forensic material to courts. Further, I'm also a project manager for the IAWP, which I actually led successfully in 2013. I think I was the project manager for the inaugural first ever IAWP conference in South Africa. I think for Commissioner Khumalo, just not to confuse you with my acronyms, IAWP, it's the International Association for Women Police, a structure that has existed for more than 100 years. And also I became its coordinator in the SADC region. And at some point I was also for 2 terms a board member for PolMed, where we were responsible for taking care of the members' health care as well as emotional and mental wellness needs. Then currently I'm also the director for CID. CID, I think we will all know, it means Criminal Investigations Division for South Africa in the region, meaning that also I serve on the permanent subcommittee of the police chiefs, which will be the subco body of the region. I'm also, I think, lastly, Chair, I'm the co-chairperson of the Trilateral Planning Cell. That is a structure that the ministers initiated to look at your countering narcotics in the region, and this particular planning cell covers 3 countries, that's South Africa, Mozambique, and Tanzania. Although now we have invited a number of countries, including Angola, Lesotho, Swaziland, to be part of the TPC, as we call it. Thank you.
Thank you, General. Oh.
General, good morning. You have that 5.2. What is that organization? What does it do?
Okay. The Southern African Regional Police Chiefs Cooperation Organization, this is a structure or a body that actually brings all the police chiefs in the region, and they coordinate on issues of crime in the region, particularly your either cross-border crimes or transnational organized crime. So the National Commissioner would be the chairperson for the country. However, the chairperson rotates. I think currently it is sitting with, with Malawi. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner.
General, if you could then move to the key roles and responsibilities of your division with a particular focus on the units that you oversee.
Okay. Chairperson, under my leadership, I actually have 8 components that I'm leading, starting with your crime investigation service, serious violent crime investigations, organized crime investigations, commercial crime investigations. Also from the detectives, lastly will be the family violence, child protection, and sexual offenses. If I move to forensic, I'm also responsible for criminal records and crime scene management, forensic science laboratories, as well as quality management component.
Thank you, General. And as you indicated, you are currently the acting DNC in crime detection. What are your responsibilities there? Okay.
My responsibility entails providing oversight as well as strategic direction to 3 critical investigation programs within the SAPS, or let me say the crime detection business value chain. That will be crime intelligence, detective services, and forensic services.
Thank you, General. We are now going to move on to the topic of disbandment of the PKTT. And to begin with, you explained that in December 2024, you were actually deployed to the Western Cape. Can you explain the deployment, the purpose of the deployment, and when you then returned back to the head office?
Thank you, Commissioners. As part of protocols and as a requirement, all senior officers in the SAPS are deployed in support of provinces during the festive season, and the rationale is for us to monitor and oversee police operations in that particular area where you are deployed. So I was deployed in the Western Cape in support of General Pategile, who's the PC for Western Cape. And that would mean also doing your field, how can I call it? We also go to the field where we do stop and searches, we do roadblocks, we make sure that there's visibility in the province, as well as we also assist the members and guide them in terms of doing your tracking and also tracing of wanted suspects.
Thank you, General. And when did you then return to head office?
I returned back to head office on the 3rd of January. However, I already had submitted my pre-planned leave that took place from the 6th, returning back to work on the 17th of January, 2025.
Thank you, General. You then say on your return to work, you had an informal discussion with Lieutenant General Khumalo. Can you tell the Commission about that interaction and what you were discussing?
Maybe before I start, I want to provide context in terms of my relationship with General Khumalo. and I know that this maybe also will touch on Commissioner Khumalo. I actually grew up Kosi Khumalo, and that is my father's surname. However, when I went to high school, when I was doing standard 8 at the time, I wanted to honor my grandfather who raised me, and that's a Mavimbela. So literally, I changed my surname back to Mavimbela, and I became Kosi Mavimbela. So me and Dumisani Khumalo, General Khumalo, we call each other Bhuti Ngosisi. So uthi siswami ngithi bhuti wami. And normally we don't ever have a serious, intense interaction. I mean, even with all these challenges, we don't have hey, come sit down. It's still Budwami, Seswami, and it's still Mama Uti. So I came back from leave, we meet, I can't remember where, but it was in one of the meetings. And he said to me, Seswami, uboss wakho uthi mangunikeza ama-dockets we-PKTT. Just like that. And we ngabuza ngobani. Then he says to me, no, uti uminister unikeze a directive that those dockets should come to the detectives. He says no, he gave him that instruction in writing. So I then said to General Khumalo, unfortunately, so mina ngiyiphoyisa. Uba iphoyisa means ukuthi when you instruct me, it must be in writing. And I think the discussion didn't go further. But also what prompted my mind at the time was, Kodu Khumalo has been the project coordinator of this task team from 2018. And I was there. I think when the meeting was called by Minister Kele, we were all invited. I think it was myself, General Ramatswele. Ramatswele was the section head for, at the time it was called specific crimes. Now it's called serious violent crimes. It was me, him, it was General Tsumane was the DNC at the time. General Musikidi was the divisional commissioner at the time. So we were all invited to that meeting that took place in General Mkwanazi's office, and he was the acting provincial commissioner. So he wasn't telling me something that I didn't know, because I would have prompted to understand what are you talking about. So I knew. And as far as I knew, he was doing well. When Minister Kele came and General Khumalo was appointed as the head of CI, I think a decision was taken that he actually proceeds with that role. And all of us supported it. So there was no way that now I could come and say, bring me the dockets. I needed to understand why. And for me, it was not in writing, so I couldn't act on it. And by the way, I think the commissioner spoke about Bo Mabari Bari. I didn't want to rely on Mabari Bari. I wanted something I could read. Thank you, commissioners.
General, somewhere in your statement, you mentioned the reason why the dockets had to come to head office. Yes. And on that you take issue, if I understand correctly, with the reason that was given by General Motsepe.
Okay.
Do I understand the position correctly? Yes.
Yes.
What I'm not sure comes out clearly from your statement is whether you personally were told what that reason was, and who, if you were told, the person that told you was. And at what stage? Why must the dockets come to head office?
Okay.
Who told you and at what stage?
Nobody told me and Khumalo that the dockets must come to Pretoria. The letters, okay, eventually I got my letter on the 2nd of February. And I think just after that, the minister called a meeting in Cape Town, where he basically, I think it was an orientation meeting where we had to present to him specific topics. And I think mine was on the capacitation of the detectives. And unfortunately, lo and behold, on the 6th of February, my nephew Tato was fatally wounded. And I had to return home on the day because I couldn't cope. So for that reason, I think I took leave to be able to assist my family in making sure that Tato gets to rest appropriately. On returning, now Khumalo and I, we both had instructions that said, you, General Khumalo, in your capacity as the project manager for the PKTT, hand over the dockets to General Sintumule, who is the Divisional Commissioner for Detective and Forensic Services. And I think the instructions were clear because if you look at it, it actually stated how the handover should take place. So Khumalo and I, he already had, I think, the National Commissioner's letter, which I never had view of. I relied on him when he said to me, the NATCOM had already written to the minister to provide a winding down approach proposal for his approval, for the minister's approval.
And your February letter was from General Sibia.
General Sibia, yes.
And it said nothing about the reason for the dockets to be brought to head office.
Maybe if the chairperson could allow me to read it into the record.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. I think it should be on the other bundle, HKS2. Okay. The letter read as such. The South African Police Service established the National Task Team on Political Killings to address the concerning rise in politically motivated murders and related crimes involving political figures. This specialized task team was dedicated to investigating, resolving, and preventing such incidents to ensure justice and maintain political stability in affected regions. On 31 December 2024, the Minister of Police issued a directive to the National Commissioner to immediately deactivate and disband the NTT-PK, which we call the PKTT. And he said in his letter, this decision was informed by an assessment that the task team no longer significantly contributed to policing efforts. So that's the only reason provided, that it no longer significantly contributed to policing efforts. But there was, for me, that's the only reason that I know, and I think coming from intelligence and compartmentalization, that is all that I worked on the instruction.
Thank you, General.
Thank you, Chair.
General, maybe while you are on the letter, can you please read paragraph 5 into the record?
Okay. In compliance with the aforementioned directive of the Minister of Police, you are directed, which is it's an instruction with steps, if you look at what it means, to engage with the Divisional Commissioner of Crime Intelligence with a view to do a proper handing over and to follow all processes to conduct a handing over process. And this includes, but not limited to, a report of all cases in terms of their status, a case register wherein all the cases were recorded and the current status of court-going cases and cases under investigation. All cases or projects, documentation relevant to the Political Killings Task Team, the PKTT. These should include all evidentiary material, documents, electronic recordings, etc. It must be booked into the SAP S13 or in possession of the team or stored in any storage facility. All human and physical resources allocated, listed, as well as a report on all financial expenditure for the duration of the operations of the task team. That ends paragraph 5, Commissioner.
General, that 5.3,
Yes.
is that in short, is that a reference to the dockets? Is this where the
Yes,
instruction
I think
says you must take over?
5.3, can I say actually all of them except for number 5.4, they refer to dockets.
Okay, all right.
Because General Kumalo had to provide me with the state of where those investigations were, which he did, I think, in the plan that we developed.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ms. Bowe, I would like to ask something about paragraph 6, but if you're still going to deal with the letter, if you were planning to deal with the letter in your own way, I would rather leave it to that point.
Commissioner Baloyi, I was going to proceed chronologically from where we are. So if we want to deal with paragraph,
I'll postpone it. I'm happy to postpone it.
okay.
Okay. All right. All right, thank you. General, in that paragraph 6, which you haven't read,
Yes.
and I'll read it. It says, it is advised that the Divisional Commissioner, Detective and Forensic Services, that's you,
Yes.
okay, ensures that the case/investigations are taken care of to ensure that cases are not lost in court because of the deactivation and disbandment of the task team. I want to just understand how it works. You are at National. The PKTT dockets are
In
cases.
KwaZulu-Natal.
Yes.
Yes.
Ordinarily, how would it work? You are now being told you must ensure cases. What does it mean practically you would do? And does this reflect how, this kind of instruction, how ordinarily you would engage with provincial dockets, or was this something out of the norm, your involvement here, as in paragraph 6?
If I may clarify, Chairperson or Commissioner, and I will take you back to 2018 when the team was established. The team, though based in the province, was a national task team. That's why General Ramatswele was the first project manager, and General Maqashalala. And General Maqashalala moved to the Western Cape. General Ramatswele retired. General Kumalo was appointed when he got promoted to level 14 general or 2-star general. So he was running a national project. That's why even the budgeting would come from national. That's why even the reporting will include all of us. So in essence, what General Sibia meant here was that I take over as the project manager. That's the understanding.
You would take over from General Kumalo?
Yes.
That's what it would mean?
That's what actually he requested.
Okay.
And maybe just over and above what he wrote, it's also what he said, that General Kumalo was in crime intelligence, and therefore the investigations belong to detectives. Sure. Thank you, Chairperson.
And what's the significance of open quote advised, close quote, as opposed to, for example, instructed?
The instruction is already given. So he already instructed, and he gave probably a framework of how this instruction should be executed. Now he says, over and above what you're going to do, you must make sure that chain of custody, documentation related to the dockets, but also court processes don't get interfered with. Thank you.
Thank you.
General, just to take a step back, you were still in January.
Yes.
When you note at paragraph 16 that General Sibia also followed up after your conversation with General Kumalo about whether or not you're going to get the dockets. Can you explain that interaction?
No, thank you very much, Commissioners. Still in January, and I must say, Commissioners, I don't remember the date. We were in his office. Normally, he would call meetings in the morning, and I think post that meeting, then he asked me if I had engaged with General Kumalo on the handover of the PKTG dockets. My response to him was that much as General Kumalo has spoken to me, I didn't take the matter forward because he at least had something in writing, I didn't. So I couldn't go ahead with the instruction, And therefore, if he wanted me to proceed with that instruction, he had to reduce it into writing, or in writing.
And General, just to confirm, at this stage, you had not been furnished with the directive that the minister issued in December?
To date, I have actually not laid my hands on that directive.
Can I just go back a bit? So when you meet, when you first encounter